Thank you, Reverend Bonnie. And I thank Reverend Bonnie and your Board of Trustees for inviting me back. I love being here, and it's such an honor to speak here at this center. I feel like it's almost home. Almost. I'm not out of retirement fully. Partially, having a good time, whatever I'm doing. You know, I have had a motto for many, many years. If it ain't fun, I don't do it. Move this over. Are we okay now? Okay. Good. Now I can't move around, right? Hide and watch. Yeah, I read a cute little story about two little boys on their way home from Sunday school. And one of them said to the other, "What do you think about this Satan stuff?" And the other one said, "Well, you know about that Santa Claus. It's probably just your father." So maybe it is just your father. In the Bible, and you know, I know some of you have a little bit of a resistance to that word Bible. And I did too. When I went to seminary, I told one of the classes I was terrified of the Bible. I had to take Bible the whole first year, and I was like, oh my gosh. But I came because I had a marvelous, marvelous Bible instructor. I came to appreciate most of the messages in the Bible. And one of the things that I can't interpret metaphysically is from 1 Thessalonians. In all things give thanks. It's just there, friends. In all things give thanks. Now that doesn't mean the things that I like. It means everything. All that stuff that we don't like. All the junk. In all things. All the stuff we call good, all the stuff we call bad. Because sometimes that stuff we call bad turns out to be good. And we're more likely to recognize it if we call it good and give thanks for it. I'll give you a silly, easy example. I'm driving down the street, I get delayed by a train. And I get through and move on, I realize the delay was good because I avoided an accident down the street. You know, that's just a very simple example, but many, many times what we call bad turns out to be good if we look for it. Look for the good. Give thanks for it. Would be really good if we all created that habit of giving thanks for all things. And that's not easy. You know, I've been practicing this stuff for quite a few years. To listen to Bonnie as she was telling me, saying I've been here and here and here all these years, and think, my gosh, am I that old? I guess I am. But the universe is a generous, abundant giver. And the universe likes to be appreciated. It's like, you know, we teach the law of attraction and we think, oh, this is new stuff. No, it's not new stuff. It's been that way forever. We've just discovered it newly. The law of attraction is what I put out comes back. Simple. And why doesn't it work for me? Because I can't keep my mind on the good stuff that I want. I keep thinking about what I don't want. Does that resonate with any of you?
Sure does.
There's a documentary written called The Yogis of Tibet, and a story about the Dalai Lama that I just love this story. They asked him if he was fearful when the Chinese took over Tibet, and he said, oh yes, I was very much afraid. And they questioned him more because yogis are known for not being afraid of their physical well-being. And he said, I was so afraid I was going to lose my compassion for the Chinese. It's funny, but it's really something that we need to learn. That Dalai Lama happy man. And he laughs and he giggles, and somebody told me the other day, he said his religion is laughter. Laughter. And he sees the good in everything. Life is an echo. What we send out comes back. Do we want to eliminate all of the suffering in the world? Yeah? Well, eliminate all of that stuff in you that's dark and miserable and negative. All of the fear, all of the criticism, all of the judgment. Oh my gosh, do I have to let go of all of that? I can't judge. I can't look over there and say, oh, she's wrong, or he did this wrong. No, eliminate all of it. All of the fear, all of the judgment, all of the lack of trust. I can't judge the terrorist. No, I can't. I can't judge the school shooter. Can't judge the abuser. And that's kind of difficult sometimes, but that's what we're called to do, friends. That's why we're in this teaching. To learn how not to judge, to learn how to live that happy life, be in alignment with Spirit, be in alignment with the universe, and let all that other stuff go over there. If I want to fully awaken all of humanity, I have to awaken all of myself. How do I do that? PMS. Now, some of you have heard me say this before. Some of you are like, what is she saying? Prayer, meditation, and silence. Prayer, meditation, and silence. That's the only way I know to transform myself or for anyone else. I read recently that with all of the teachings, all of the lectures, all of the seminars, all of the books, you can't get nearly as much as you can for 3 days by yourself. 3 days in the silence, quiet. Try it. You might like it. Lao Tzu said the greatest gift that we have to give is our own transformation. Get that. The greatest gift I have to give you is my transformation. Isn't that great? Bonnie said I was born into a New Thought family, which I was. One of my grandmothers was a religious science practitioner way back then in the Dark Ages. They had them. And she called me to task many times. She was an amazing woman. There was a time, I thought that she was very wealthy, which she was, in her ability to bring to herself the things that she needed when she needed them. I didn't realize that at the time. Now, I was living in El Paso, married with 4 very young children, and feeling very sorry for myself one December. I was, oh, there's not enough this, there's not enough that, and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I wrote to my grandmother, one of these sad letters. I thought, oh, she's going to send me a check if I write her a sad story. I'd forgotten my grandmother. I got a letter back, and it was mid-December, and it was cold. It was one of those rare days in El Paso that it snowed. When the mail came, I ran and got the letter and got in the house and sat down and opened it up and looked in there, and there was no check. I shook the envelope, no check. So then I read the letter. My dear, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. When she started my dear, I was being corrected. My dear, In our family, we do not use the words ploy or plum. Poor little old you, or poor little old me. We don't use those words. We take responsibility for our own situation. She doesn't understand. She doesn't have the problems I have. She doesn't know. No, she was a very wise woman. So she went on. I went on and read, "You have a great deal to be grateful for. You have 4 very healthy children. Give thanks for their healthy bodies as you are bathing them in the evening. Give thanks for the water that you use to bathe them. Give thanks for the water and the soap when you wash their dishes. And give thanks for the food that caused you to wash those dishes." And she went on, clothes that dry quickly on the line in that beautiful sentence. Went on and on and on. Tears coming down my face. She doesn't understand. She doesn't get it. Well, I went about my day, and as the day progressed, and the next, I began to see that she was right. That there was a great deal in my life that I had to be grateful for. And I began doing that. I began saying, "Thank you for the clothes that are drying quickly on the line," even though I didn't like hanging them out there. I started giving thanks. And guess what? My life turned around. It didn't go like this, but things just progressively started getting better and better and better. Because I was taking responsibility for my situation. You know, Oprah Winfrey a few years ago suggested the practice of a gratitude journal. Remember that? And she said, "Be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you'll never, ever, ever have enough." Why is that? The law of attraction. If I'm looking at, I don't have enough, the universe says, "Okay, you don't need it. Okay, I'll take away this." If I concentrate on what I have and give thanks for what I have, the universe responds and gives me more. More of what I like, more of what I appreciate. And you know, successful people know this, and they practice it. I don't know if you've noticed how many wealthy, successful people are doing so much good. You know, one of the athletes I read about just recently, I think he's a professional basketball player, and set up a home for homeless children. And another athlete set up a sanctuary for abused animals. Many of them do these things that we are not aware of. They don't always make the news. Meister Eckhart, he said, "If the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, that will be enough." Some of you have read that. And Maya Angelou tells this story. She was an amazing woman. She went to visit a church in Florida, and the minister of the church recognized her. So during the service, he introduced her, asked her to stand and lead them in a prayer. And she said, "I couldn't think of anything except thank you, God. I stood there and said, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God." And pretty soon the entire congregation had joined her. Thank you, God. Another Unity minister, one of my good friends, Greg Barrett, he had a church in Florida, and he periodically, posts. He posts a story or an anecdote or something, and this story he posted just recently about a time when he was guest speaking at a church that was unfamiliar to him. And he was sitting at the airport waiting for the person to come pick him up. And here came this dilapidated looking bus with the church name on it. Now, okay, here's my ride. So he got on the bus, and the bus driver looked to be much younger than his stated age. And Greg started talking to him, and I asked him, well, what's your story? And the man said, well, several years ago I was diagnosed with 3 very serious illnesses. One was terminal cancer. And I began giving thanks. I began saying thank you for everything in my life. And one by one, those illnesses were healed. Just by saying thank you. Greg said to that driver, so what would you say to anyone that came to you with an illness like that? He'd say, I would tell them to start saying thank you and never ever stop. Thank you is all we need. It's all we need to say. There are some of you here this morning that know my story and some of you that don't. Well, one of my stories anyway, several years ago, I was very ill. I was in the hospital, and some people didn't expect me to come out of the hospital, ever. I don't know why this happened, but I began giving thanks. I must have, in the back of my mind, remembered this practice. I began giving thanks for the chemists who research and find the different medicines, for the lab technicians, for the pharmacists, things that are necessary, but I certainly wouldn't want to do them. It's not my thing. For the physical therapists, for the doctors, for the nurses, for all of those that came in contact with me, even the wonderful little French woman that cleaned my room. She was awesome. And I began giving thanks for all of that. And I got home. I'm standing here today, contrary to what one of the doctors thought. I learned this practice kind of inadvertently from a Unity minister who was a minister at the Unity Village Chapel. And I was upset about something. I don't even remember what it was. But I went into him for counseling. And I sat down, and I really think I didn't want counseling. I just wanted somebody to agree with me and feel sorry for me and pat me on the head. And, yeah, you're right. Well, he didn't do that. Bless his heart. He said, Terry, would you want to do that job? I was complaining about a person. No, I wouldn't want to do that job. Well, then give thanks. It's a necessary job. Give thanks that there's someone on this planet that wants to do that job. Oh, okay. And I did, and it helped my attitude, and things got better in my life. I don't know if they got better there, but it got better in my life. So is it easy, friends, to give thanks in all things? I don't think so. Hasn't been easy for me to remember, because my mind goes to, why didn't he do it this way? And what's wrong with her that she's doing that? And it's important for us to catch ourselves and stop and look and give thanks. Thank you for doing a job that I wouldn't want to do. We got to keep our thoughts in check. Why thoughts? Because our thoughts cause our actions. And sometimes, if I'm allowing my thoughts to think criticism and one thing and another, I might act in a way that's not very spiritual. Now, I never do that, of course. Our thoughts can cause us to act in a way that we wouldn't normally do. And our thoughts can cause us to be peaceful and pleasant and happy. So it's your choice. What are you going to choose? 2,500 years ago, the Buddha said, all that we are, oh, I love this, all that we are is a result of what we have thought. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows him all of his life. If a man speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness follows him like a shadow that never leaves. Like a shadow that never leaves. Watch our thoughts. Let's make a habit. You know, I had a dream very recently because I've been in the midst of listening to people being upset about whatever's going on in the government and one thing and another. And I had this dream, and I love it. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Do unto others. What if we all did that? You know, if we all did that, we wouldn't have any wars, we wouldn't have any fighting, we wouldn't have any bickering, we wouldn't have any political polarity, bickering back and forth. If we all did just that. Do unto others. I'm inviting you today to give it a try. Ain't easy. I guarantee it's not an easy path, but it's worth it. I live in a loving, abundant, harmonious universe, and I am grateful. Would you like to affirm that with me together? I live in a loving, abundant, harmonious universe, and I am grateful. And so it is.